You guys, so we are now at the Duplex Diner, which our friends Jason and Chris from Provincetown in DC told us about.
Very
Thank you
excited to
so
be here.
much.
If you're ever
Belly
here,
to
get the
order
chicken
them.
fingers and the mozzarella sticks. They're delicious.
We haven't eaten all day.
I know, we're
So we're just
starving.
taking a break to get away from the melee, have some mozzarella sticks and chicken tenders while Steve Katsurinis catches us up on what's going on. Steve, what's happening?
So it looks like Trump is going to win Florida. He's definitely ahead in Florida. And the media is focused only on that story right now. And that is ignoring three major pieces of the puzzle. Ohio, Biden is ahead by 10 points. This is a must win for Trump. There's almost no way he can be president for the next 4 years if he doesn't win Ohio. And
Do
he
you
was
think
losing
that-
10 points.
Do you think that lead is real, or do you think it's
Yes.
fake?
It is almost all of the Republican counties are in, and what's left out are, so it could even get bigger, although it's hard to imagine that, so I feel ridiculous saying it, but there are, like, Democrat votes are still out there, and Biden is ahead 10 points. Also, North Carolina, Biden is ahead. Texas, Biden is ahead 250,000 votes with 66% in. Republican counties that have been Republican for my entire lifetime are turning blue tonight.
Wow.
So Dallas suburbs, Austin suburbs, Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio came in big. Biden could win Texas. And again, if Biden wins Texas, Trump's done. There's no way back from that.
Right.
So on other races, Mitch McConnell, the turtle, was reelected.
Wait a minute. But Steve, I swear, when I looked at the polls last, it said that the race between Amy McGrath and Mitch McConnell was neck and necks.
Well, she does have a neck.
It's not. So sometimes the polls are just way off, right?
Sometimes the polls are within the margin. Sometimes they're a little outside the margin. We weren't really looking. We would have been surprised if she had won tonight.
Okay.
But in another race with another closeted homosexual, Lindsey Graham is behind currently Jamie Harrison. Jamie Harrison is ahead. No
I
one's
love that.
But it is, it's a nice thing to be ahead there. I don't have much in House races yet, which I think is where people's attention should turn. But we're not there yet. We don't really have enough. And there have been, at this point, the only upset that I would point you to is what's coming in Ohio, which is a huge upset for Biden.
Right. That's great.
Thank you for the positive update once again.
That's making us feel really good because we just got the notification on my phone saying that Mitch McConnell was going to win again, and we were a little bummed. So it's very exciting to hear all that good news.
I'll see you in an hour.
All right,
Perfect. We'll see you.
Work, Steve. Thank you.
Heather here.
Hello, is that better?
Better? Great. Awesome. Next we have one of our dear friends visiting us to talk to us. It is our Senator Julian Cyr. Bob is repping him hard with his shirt. Is Julian there with us?
Oh, hi, boys. Oh, my God,
Hi.
Bob, I love this. Harrison. Oh, my God. Bob, I would say that's, well, it's not the first time that shirt's been worn in D.C., but you're wearing it better than, well, several people anyway, I'm glad.
I have that shirt too, but it's a tank top, so it's not appropriate for this weather.
I've never seen Harrison wear it in public, but maybe when he returns from D.C. No. But anyway, it's so good to be with you both. And first of all, like, really cool that you're doing this and sort of taking this on the road and having some conversations with, really amazing people in international politics, right? You were talking to Ruben Gonzalez. I know you're going to hear from Robbie Friedman Gershman tonight. And then also just seeing, seeing that image of Lafayette Square, right, which is the square that's sort of north of the White House, and seeing that barricade. I mean, I remember in 2009 when I was an intern in the Obama White House, I worked on Lafayette Square. That was all open. I mean, it wasn't gated off like a prison, and it's just such a powerful image for really what the Trump presidency has meant for this country, and why tonight is just so absolutely important.
Definitely. I know you're watching a lot of races closely, specifically LGBT candidates nationwide. Have you any information on any of those?
So those are just kind of coming in. Sarah McBride was just elected to the state senate in Delaware, being the first openly transgender person elected to a state senate. That is huge. I think there's a whole host. Oh, and Bob's home state, and Joe Biden's home state, or current state, his home state, of course, is Pennsylvania, but it's adopted state. But we're watching a lot of races locally as well, right? We've got a few two ballot initiatives on the ballot here in Massachusetts. We got a pretty consequential county commissioner's race, and then here on Cape Cod, several incumbent Republicans are being challenged by Democrats, and we're waiting to see those results.
Right.
How's it looking?
Hard to tell. One, because it's hard to kind of toggle between doing this and looking at the results, and also polls in Massachusetts close at 8, and so very, very heavy turnout in Cape Cod. Early voting has been very popular. Early voting was first instituted in Massachusetts in 2016. Our communities, Cape Cod towns, vote early more than almost anywhere else in the Commonwealth. So Little East Ham, Massachusetts, has the highest percentage of voter turnout. The county commissioner's
Congrats,
races
East Ham.
I know, go East Ham, and Orleans is like right behind it. P-Town had high turnout as well. Also to good signs. I should say, I think I'm reelected. I was running unopposed. I was on the ballot this year.
Congratulations, Julian.
Wasn't sure.
My favorite queer politician.
Oh,
Congratulations, Julian. I do want to say, too, that one of the reasons the P-Town turnout was so high is because the lobster pot was giving away chowder today.
Yeah.
Love the McNulty's. I think the best.
Me, too. I'm like,
but tonight's kind of...
voted early.
I know. I shouldn't vote in Truro, but I do. But, tonight's kind of weird. Interesting for me, right? Because my first election, right, the night I was elected to the state senate was 2016. And I remember giving my victory speech. I actually wore a white tie. I was so convinced that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And I was elected. I remember I gave my victory speech. When you're the candidate, right, afterwards, I was out talking to the press for like an hour. And then a friend came over and said, hey, you might want to come in. Like, people are leaving. And I walked back in, and my whole team is crying, and people are streaming out because of the just shocking news that happened in 2016. So I'm hoping that's not where we go tonight.
Right.
But
how are you feeling? Are you feeling hopeful? Are you afraid?
So I've been feeling I was feeling very hopeful all throughout this. And then like this afternoon, this evening, sort of you had this sort of like the election night jitters, and was kind of a little like, oh wow, like I'm kind of anxious here. And then hearing Steve's update, I hope it's not too good to be true, but what we're seeing, especially the Ohio numbers, would be stunning. But even if Biden doesn't win in Texas and doesn't win in Georgia, the margins are just showing where the direction of this country is going. And that, in our generation and younger generations in particular, there's such consensus about where this country is going to be going. And so what a Biden-Harris presidency is going to mean for tackling climate change, responding to this pandemic and recovering from the pandemic, what it's going to mean for equity and justice for people of color, for queer folks like us, what it's going to mean in stimulus, what it's going to mean in so many things, is pretty remarkable. But I don't want to get there yet. I'm cautiously optimistic. I am optimistic and really hoping that our 2 county commissioner candidates who are Democrats are going to win. They're running against a fellow named Ron Beatty. He's sort of infamous tweeter. Someone who actually last winter sort of tweeted out after Sarah Peak and I were appointed leadership positions on Beacon Hill, and basically put out a poll whether or not gay people were too self-centered and self-absorbed to serve in public office. So we're hoping he loses tonight, because that's pretty
definitely
outrageous. I was like, okay, of course the answer is yes. Of course, us queer folks are too self-absorbed and too self-centered to serve.
That's just me.
Harrison, no, everyone should serve. I can't wait, Harrison. 2022, select board race, something.
Right.
But no, so I'm very hopeful there. Very interesting, these 2 ballot questions we have in Massachusetts. Question 1 is about right to repair and basically who can have access to the information in your car, right? Can a small car can small scale mechanics still repair our cars? It's become more and more computerized. And then question 2 is about ranked choice voting, which is a system that Maine has, which has won us. The Maine system won a congressional seat in the northern part of Maine in 2018. It would have made a huge difference in the race to replace Joe Kennedy's seat, the 4th congressional seat here in Massachusetts. My good friend Jessie Ramel nearly won that race as the progressive, but she lost narrowly to a guy, Jake Oshensloss, who's going to win tonight, but who got like 22% of the vote, who's much more conservative. He used to be registered as a Republican. So ranked choice voting is going to be exciting. And then we're going to hopefully have our work cut out for us. Certainly, there is so much more to do to stem COVID-19. The trend that is where we're going, the trend that we have is not a good one in Massachusetts. It's not a good one in Cape Cod. And really having a Biden-Harris administration, having an expanded majority in the U.S. House, which we're going to see, and hopefully winning the U.S. Senate is going to be a game changer for us in bringing the resources that we need to Massachusetts and to all of our communities to respond, to keep people safe, and then to recover.
Awesome. Well, we have our fingers crossed that all of that is going to come true, so that all of that works out. Thank you so much, Julian, for visiting us.
You are so welcome.
We wish we were with you on election night, but we're very
No, you
happy
don't.
to be
It's so cold here. We're all like,
it's cold
you can see
here.
my breath. I'm like, oh, please. Bob's in a t-shirt. I'm like, I'm outside on my friend's deck. We're doing a socially distant outside party. But I'm really proud of you boys for making this happen and taking this to a next level, and really hope folks are tuning in now and tune in soon. And we'll see you back when you're home safe in Massachusetts. And don't forget to get your COVID test before you return, part of the Massachusetts travel guidance. And we'll see you soon. Here's to a good night.
Thank you, Julian. What a treat. We love Julian. Next, we have an interview that we did earlier today with Rafi Friedman-Gerspin. She was really incredible, and it's a really phenomenal interview. So here we go. Hi, y'all. Right now we are sitting down with Rafi Friedman-Gerspin. She was a White House staffer in the Obama administration. She's worked as a legislative staffer in the Massachusetts House of Representatives.
Brookline girl.
Yeah. Brookline, born and raised in Brookline.
Yeah.
She now works for All on the Line, which is a project that is working to end gerrymandering nationwide. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you, and welcome to DC.
Thank you.
And it's so exciting to be with people from the homeland, from the Bay State. I miss it, and in particular Provincetown. It's always a part of my heart in particular, because my sister lived out there for a number of years. So my earliest memories are actually in Provincetown. Yeah. Early 90s.
How are you feeling today?
Today, I am feeling a little mixed. I was describing it to someone that it almost feels like that anxiety that we all had in 2004 when the Red Sox were about to sweep the series. And it was like building up to it, and you're like, I hope it happens. I'm hopeful, but I'm not sure. And then, you know, in the seriousness of what we're dealing with here is, I think I'm still nervous about the fact of what tomorrow is, regardless of the results, because in my mind, we're still, unfortunately, a house divided. And that's something that we're going to have to work on as a nation, you know, really for the next few years. And I think it is repairable, but you know, certainly I'm anxious, just like everyone, just like what does this all mean in the grander scheme of things,
regardless of which direction it goes.
Correct.
This election is especially important because next year is a redistricting year.
Yes.
So why exactly are the votes being cast today so important for what it looks like moving forward?
Well, in a down ballot race sense, there are so many state legislative races that are key for, you know, control of state houses, and who has control in a redistricting year matters in terms of how the redistricting process goes about. From a partisan lens, the Democratic Party has been in a position of really pushing for transparency in redistricting processes. We have very gerrymandered states in places like Wisconsin, North Carolina, Texas. So if Democrats are able to flip certain chambers in the different state legislatures, for example, the North Carolina Senate, or the Texas House, that's going to impact how redistricting plays itself out in Austin next year or in Madison next year, wherever a flip may or may not happen. And so the affiliate organization that my org is sort of a part of, the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, that organization has put in a lot of money into state house races across the country in states that matter when it comes to fighting for fair maps and transparency in gerrymandering. And it's really important in terms of just the broader push to ensure that, in particular, minority voters are protected in the coming years. One of the things that we saw last decade was this dilution of minority influence on local elections because of gerrymandering, and in places, you know, that have historic problems like Georgia and Florida. So you know, that's something key that we're going to work on next year, regardless of how the election goes tonight. But we are very hopeful that we have more fair district-minded legislators being voted in tonight.
This might be a stupid question, but this is something that happens every 10 years.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So why? I just don't understand why we can't just like make it a grid and that's what it is.
Well,
and
geography is geography. So one of the reasons is we have natural boundaries and also the way of settlement patterns in this country. So the grid sounds like a nice equal way of doing it, but the reality is the amount of people in Wyoming and the geography of Wyoming is far different than that of New York. And so how district boundaries are actually created matters a lot based on the settlement patterns. One of the things with gerrymandering that matters a lot is the settlement pattern, really the restrictive patterns that have happened with redlining with minority communities in this country, and historically, of course, in the South. And so, yes, it might be nice to push for some kind of broader, fair way of like breaking down the maps, but the reality is people live where they live, settlements are where they are, and state jurisdictions, boundaries are laid as they are, and they're not going to change anytime soon. So we're kind of dealing more with the problem of just how the maps are, but trying to find ways to still make sure that we have fairer districts and really competitive districts, so that essentially it's not sort of a foregone conclusion that someone from a certain party is always going to win in a certain district. And to be clear, to be fair on a partisan lens, gerrymandering also happens in Democratic districts. There have been cases in places like Maryland where federal courts have said, this is a problem, the maps have to be redrawn. So it's not just a Republican, issue. It's really an American issue that we have to solve.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today on this momentous day.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all the work you do for our community.
Of course.
Oh
yeah, no, I mean, as soon as I can. I mean, I think next summer, because obviously this summer was a little bit strange, but I miss Race Point. I miss Bubbles. I miss everything. Yeah. And love to all of you in P-Town, and thanks so much for coming, and good luck with your interviews today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Rafi, thank you so much. That was an awesome chat.
It was so nice sitting down with her. There was so much more to that interview, but we have to cut it for time. But don't worry, we will post more of that interview.
So we wanted to chat up some locals about what's been going on in DC for the last 4 years. This is Sarah and Rich, our new friends. Hi. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Of course, thank you for having us here.
Absolutely.
So tell everybody how long you've been in DC.
I've been in DC for 8 years. I am from Ohio.
I was actually born right outside of DC in Tacoma Park, and grew up in the area and never left. So pretty much my whole life been a DC person.
And so how has the climate here changed for you guys since the last 4 years? Has the Trump era been significantly different from what you were used to before?
I think so. I lived in the city a couple of years back, and just a couple blocks away from the White House, and going running and all of that, there was just a strong sense of pride, just in that area, passing the White House with Obama. And it was almost palpable when Trump went into office, going down there, there's just protests and anti-Trump just out there all the time. And, definitely a much more hostile environment.
I will say though that DC in general, from what I've seen, is that most people are very liberal that live here, and you don't see a lot of Trump supporters, and so that's something that has given me hope. Like while living here during the last 4 years, you don't really see. I haven't really felt any competitive energy that in that sense, other than tourists or people who are downtown.
Right.
But all of the gay bars and all of the places that I surround myself with have been anti-Trump. So that's been something that's been a light at the end of the tunnel, in my opinion. So.
And we have been watching your home state very closely tonight.
Yes.
Sounds like a little bit better news out of Ohio than what you experienced last time.
Yes. I was going to say 4 years ago, we had a large party here, and it was such a great time here at Duplex Diner. We had such a great party. Everyone was having a great time, and then slowly declined. And then once Ohio turned red, it was kind of the ending point, and that's kind of when it was traumatic for me. Yeah, it was that's where my people are from, so that was very, very hard. I'm just keep watching the numbers, and so far we're up right now, but anything can change. But I'm fingers crossed, and I have faith.
Good.
I have faith.
Because when we first sat down, we asked Rich how he was feeling tonight, and he was like,
Little on edge. I think, like Sarah was saying, being in DC, a predominantly liberal area, you're kind of protected by like the liberal bubble.
Right.
And when Trump won 4 years ago, it was like just
Mind blowing.
hard slap in the face.
Yeah.
we were doing the same thing in P-Town. Like, I was at a bar. My friend was dressed as Hillary Clinton, a man.
We also had them here.
Yeah, and it was like, we were so
Yeah.
sure. And by the end of the night, everyone's in tears.
Yeah.
Nobody planned any parties tonight.
People were closing out with tears in their eyes. I mean, I remember like I had to step into the kitchen and I just had to cry for a second. I was like, people were asking to close out their tabs, and I was like, just give me 1 second. So hopefully we have better results this year.
Hopefully we will. Thank you
Yeah.
guys so much for having us here.
Thank you so much
Likewise.
for
Thanks for
coming,
coming.
and thanks for having us on your show.
Of course.
Absolutely. It was so nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So we'll see you guys again in an hour, and we'll know a little bit more by then, right?